Honorable speakers and presidents, members of parliament, can we please get seated to start the program? Thank you. Honorable speakers and presidents and members of parliament, can we please get seated so that we start the program? Thank you. Excuse me, can we? Honorable speakers and presidents, may we please rise for the delegation.
Your Excellency, Dr. Fateh Boutbik, President of the Pan-African Parliament, Honorable Togo Didiza, please be seated. Thank you. Your Excellency, Dr. Fateh Boutbik, President of the Pan-African Parliament, Honorable Togo Didiza, Speaker of the National Assembly of the Republic of South Africa, Honorable Sahiba Gafarova, the Speaker of the Milli Majlis of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Your Excellencies, Honorable Speakers, Presiding Officers of National and Regional Parliaments, Honorable Members of the Pan-African Parliament, Excellencies, Ambassadors and Heads of Diplomatic Missions, representatives of African Union organs and institutions, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my singular honor as the Clerk of the Pan-African Parliament and privilege to, on behalf of the Pan-African Parliament, to welcome you to the Pan-African Parliament in Midrand, Republic of South Africa for the 26th Conference of Speakers of National and Regional Parliaments. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the opening ceremony of the 2026 Conference of Speakers of National and Regional Parliaments, gathered under the theme, The Role of Parliamentary Diplomacy in Strengthening Relations with National and Regional Parliaments and Contributing to the Achievement of the Objectives of Agenda 2063. Your Excellencies, this conference provides an important platform for parliamentary leaders from across our continent to strengthen cooperation, exchange experiences, and chart a common path towards achieving Africa's development aspirations through enhanced parliamentary engagement and diplomacy. We are privileged to be joined by distinguished leaders from national, regional, and continental institutions whose presence underscores the importance of this conference and our shared commitment to advancing African unity, good governance, peace and democracy, and sustainable development. We shall now proceed with the opening ceremony in accordance with the adopted program. First, we will receive the opening remarks by His Excellency, the President of the Pan-African Parliament, His Excellency, Dr. Fateh Boutbik. Next, we shall receive the welcome remarks by the representative of the host country, Honorable Togo Didiza, Speaker of the National Assembly of South Africa. Next, we shall receive a solidarity message by the Speaker of Milli Majlis of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Honorable Sahiba Gafarova. And finally, we shall have the installation of the Bureau of this conference, which will install 5 honorable speakers representing the 5 African regions. And this installation ceremony will be led by the President of the Pan-African Parliament, His Excellency Dr. Fateh Boutbik. It is now my honor to invite His Excellency the President of the Pan-African Parliament, Honorable Dr. Fateh Butbik, to deliver his opening remarks.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أصحاب السعادة والمعالي، الحضور باسمه وجميل واسمه وصفته ومقامه، اسمحوا لي أولا أن أرحب بمعالي.
I would like to welcome you all, Honorable Titija, Speaker of the National Parliament of South Africa. I would also like to welcome His Excellency Honorable Saniba Gafarova, the Speaker of the National Assembly of the Republic of Azerbaijan. His Excellency Ditapelo Kiorapetse, Speaker of the National Parliament, National Assembly, I beg your pardon, of Botswana, His Excellency Mr. Julius Daniel Tabirabi, Speaker of the National Assembly of Burundi, His Excellency Honorable Jabulani Gabuza, Speaker of the National Parliament of Eswatini, His Excellency Pata, the Speaker of the National Assembly of the Gambia, His Excellency Makafengi, Speaker of the National Parliament of Kenya, His Excellency the Speaker of the Lesotho Parliament, His Excellency Baktaraba, Speaker of the National Assembly of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, His Excellency Simbi Mahua, Speaker of the National Assembly of Namibia, His Excellency Jacob Mudenda, the Dean of the Speaker of Parliament of Zimbabwe, Her Excellency Mabel Chinamona, Speaker of the Parliament, or Speaker of the Senate, I beg your pardon, of Zimbabwe. Ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed, we are at a historic moment in the Pan-African Parliament. Let me introduce to you the new members of our Bureau. May I ask that you welcome them. First Vice President is Dr. Gayo of Ethiopia. We have the second Vice President, Dr. Zenato of Ghana. We have the third Vice President of the Pan-African Parliament. This is Dr. Chida of Chad. And the fourth Vice President, Dr. Ujes of Angola. It is my great pleasure to welcome the former presidents of the Pan-African Parliament. We have Chief Charumbira with us, the recent former president of the Pan-African Parliament, and we have Honorable Roger, who is also a former president of the Pan-African Parliament. We have representatives of national parliaments here with us today. The members of the Pan-African Parliament, dear colleagues, representatives of the Diplomatic Corps, ambassadors, representative of organs and institutions of the African Union, I welcome you today. I would also like to welcome the representatives of the different media houses who are here. We are here at a significant moment in the history of our continent. It is a moment for our continent which is well known to have suffered a great deal in its history. Today we have numerous challenges, nevertheless, but we also have opportunities. And so now it's the responsibility of our institutions, our parliamentary institutions, I would say, are at a crossroads. We have the responsibility to transfer the aspirations of our people into policies and to make significant gains. We are where humanity was birthed, that is Africa, and our people today would want their dignity, they would want to work, to earn a living. Here we are in the chamber of the Pan-African Parliament today, and we are not mentioning the past just for celebration purposes, but we want to draw inspiration from our past so that we can build a future for our people which meets the aspirations of our people. It is my honor on behalf of the Bureau of the Pan-African Parliament to welcome you today, to welcome you to this annual conference of speakers of national and regional parliaments on the African continent. Our role today is the role of parliamentary diplomacy in strengthening relations with national and regional parliaments and contributing to the achievement of the objectives of Agenda 2063. So as I take the floor today, I would like to express my gratitude to the Republic of South Africa and to the people of South Africa for the continued support of the Pan-African Parliament and for hosting this continental body, which reflects South Africa's continental commitment and contribution to the unity and integration of Africa that is the Pan-African Parliament today. I would like to thank Mr. Roland Amula for his presence, which expresses a commitment to the Agenda 2063, because it's not only governments to meet the objectives of Agenda 2063. This is a continental project which requires all of our input. We come together to ensure that we can make a tangible reality of the aspirations of Agenda 2063. So today, it's not just about protocol. It's not just any other meeting, but rather it is an opportunity for a collective reflection as we build the future of Africa. And we are here to understand the role that our institutions must play in the process of African integration. You're not representing only your national parliament, but also the will of the people, the aspirations of our people for development, for justice, for prosperity, and who are people who expect our elected officials to play a role, a significant role in building the future. Our countries need to be integrated on the African continent, but this requires joint efforts on all our parts. We need to establish legal frameworks which will ensure that continental decisions are making a true impact on the ground and changing for the better the lives of our people. So this conference today is not just a conference, but it's a significant step for a new process where we need to build cooperation between national and regional parliaments and the Pan-African Parliament. We want to strengthen inter-parliamentary engagement. We want to bring together African Union institutions in order to meet the aspirations of our people. Africa has started a new journey. It is time now for us to begin to build this new vision in our national and regional parliaments. We need to have a new energy, a new commitment. We need to build or work towards opportunities to build our continent, to ensure that our aspirations become concrete on the ground. Your Excellencies, Africa over the past decades have made laudable steps in bringing about integration. Our continental institutions have launched flagship projects and programs which are ambitious. For example, Agenda 2063, the AFCFTA, and we today need to move from just defining visions, but rather to implementing those and making them a reality. Now we are to move from just making recommendations, but to implement those so that we have concrete results. This is a moment of transformation for our economies, in taking advantage of new technologies, in security, in building value chains. And therefore, our states is no longer, the position of our states is no longer based on the resources that each state has, but rather our capacity to establish efficient institutions, developing modern legislations, and with our natural resources as well as our human resources, we cannot just be exporting but transforming these resources to become a stakeholder, make our people stakeholders in strengthening our position in the New World Order. The pivotal role of parliamentarians is highlighted more so today. We cannot meet our objectives without our coordinated approaches in terms of legislation for oversight, accountability, and political will, so that the interest of Africa is at the center of all that we do. Therefore, our responsibility goes beyond promulgating laws. Today, we need to also build confidence, the confidence of our people, through a joint African action. The success of the AFCFTA is not just signing agreements, but also to be able to remove the barriers to trade. We need to facilitate the movement of resources, of goods and people. We need to encourage production on the continent and legislation to increase the space of private sector, women and youth in our economies. The digital environment that we have today presents new opportunities but also challenges. We need to not only embrace technological transformation but also embrace cybersecurity approaches to ensure that there's responsible use of new technologies so that digital transformation is a locomotive for our development on the continent and opens up a space for new gains for our people so that a prosperous future of our people is guaranteed. But this requires peace and security. We need to address the roots of conflicts on our continent. We, of course, need to take into account climate change, food security, as well as energy security. So today, we need to ensure that what we have is a strong, stable, and prosperous Africa. That is our primary objective, and therefore we would encourage the parliaments today to not focus only on transformation, but also to ensure that our vision for Africa comes to fruition through legislation on our continent. We need to have legitimate democracies to ensure sustainability. The vision of the Pan-African Parliament requires coordination and influence. We are at a new stage in our history. We need to review our working instruments. The Pan-African Parliament is more than ever today called upon to steer this transformation. We need to ensure that our institutions are fulfilling the democratic aspirations of our people throughout the continent. So our Pan-African Parliament needs to be strong partner in the development of our continent. We need to strengthen the capacity of our existing institutions on the continent. We need to have new mechanisms for our work, and we need to have closer cooperation between our parliaments so that our action is coherent and structured so that we can have the results we seek. Our parliamentary organizations are no longer carrying out parallel diplomatic initiatives, but rather we are to work together with the diplomacy initiatives underway in supporting the African Union in peace and security, integration, and development. So we need to reflect further to strengthen our partnerships with national and regional parliaments. We need to not only have periodic meetings, but to have a permanent framework for coordination, exchange of expertise, and ensure appropriate oversight of the implementation of our recommendations to ensure sustainability and results on the ground. We want to encourage national parliaments to meet the requirements of the African Union rules of procedure. We need to ensure that the agreements and laws are implemented, but that's not all that's required for us to succeed. We need to work together so that the parliamentarians are present in all debates at continental and international level that relate to our continent's development. We need to be part of climate change discussions, digital transformation discussions, so that the voice of the African people is present in all these arenas for the development of our continent. The Pan-African Parliament does not seek solutions instead of or on behalf of national parliaments. We do not want to replace the national parliaments or regional parliaments. We do not want to override national parliaments, because you are the primary partners or stakeholders in developing our continent. You are the ones to adapt legislation and domesticate AU rules. You are undeniable partners in ensuring that Africa becomes stronger. We want to work with you as a platform for coordination. We need to build on the gains we have already made together so that we can together realize the next set of objectives that we have set. We need to be accountable. The success of our vision is not just our papers or communiques, but true results on the ground. We now need to move from just holding meetings, but rather results-based approaches. We need to ensure that we are implementing, speaking of the future in concrete terms. The history of Africa has taught us that institutions and countries are not strengthened just through resources and slogans and political will. These are required, but continental bodies need more than that. We need political will, we need leaders, but we also need courage to transform vision into reality. So today we need to represent all parliaments. Our parliaments need to come together to be able to monitor and influence action on the continent towards development. The people of Africa are not awaiting just a list of challenges. They know what these challenges are, but they want rather solutions from us. Our African citizens need to arrive at a prosperous future. It's not just for us to make recommendations or to issue communiques. We need to make a true impact on our people. We need to have actual concrete results in terms of African integration. It's no longer promises that we as members of parliament need to make. Africa no longer needs institutions, but rather to have efficient institutions. Today, what Africa needs, a common African position that is more unified, more confident, and more influential. And therefore, I would like to once again invite all national and regional parliaments and all African Union institutions and all our partners to take advantage of this conference to arrive at our objectives. We need to have coordination, oversight, and results. The founders of the African Union wanted to see a united Africa. And let me mention African leaders like His Excellency Nelson Mandela. He demonstrated accountability, and his dream was that Africa would be unified, strong, and free. So today our responsibility is great. We need to inculcate in the future generations a culture of strong institutions, of integration, and a culture of a continent that builds its own future, and that we speak with one voice to defend the interests of our continent. So let me, before I conclude, state before you all and before His Excellency the President of the National Assembly of Azerbaijan, and that we are very grateful that you have come to be with us for this meeting. I am grateful to all our partners, national and regional partners, as well as all those who support us. We want to arrive at strong parliamentary action which reflects the vision of our African leaders who are working to build a better future for our continent, but for humanity as well. Let me also thank the Ambassador, His Excellency, the CEO of APRM, as well as all the representatives who are here today. Let me say once again that we need to make our Pan-African Parliament a strong voice for our people. Unity is the source of our strength. Agenda 2063 is a legacy, and it is also a commitment. It's not just a promise. Long live the Pan-African Parliament, long live the African Union, and long live a united, strong, prosperous, and confident Africa, which is at peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable President of the Pan-African Parliament, for those remarks that have set out the vision for the Pan-African Parliament as a complementary body to those of national parliaments, and calling upon this august conference to consider the role of parliaments in meeting the aspirations of the African people, utilizing the platform of the Continental Parliament to assert the will of and aspirations of Africa's citizens, and also emphasizing the need to strengthen interparliamentary relations in order to advance the development, prosperity, and will of the African people in the world order. Thank you, Excellency. It is now my pleasure to invite to the podium the Honorable Togo Didiza, Speaker of the National Assembly of the Republic of South Africa, to deliver her welcome remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our session moderator and clerk of the PAP, Ms. Lindiwe Khumalo. Your Excellency, President of the Pan-African Parliament, Dr. Fateh Boutbik, Honorable Vice Presidents of the Pan-African Parliament who are here among us, 4 of you are here, indeed representing gender equality in your representation, 2 men and 2 women. That's most welcome. I also want to recognize, I'm not sure I should call them ancestors, but those who went before us as the leaders of the PAP, Honorable Roger Kondo and Honorable Cherubira. You may stand so that those who don't know some of our ancestors can see you. Thank you very much, and most welcome. I'd also like to recognize our sister, the President of the Non-Aligned Movement Parliamentary Network, and the Speaker of Azerbaijan. You are most welcome, my sister, and it is indeed a pleasure to have you here. I also want to welcome our Excellencies and Speakers of the national and regional parliaments who are here, because this is your conference. We also recognize the representatives of the speakers who may not be here with us today. honorable members of the Pan-African Parliament who are here, heads of African Union organs and agencies, and I know we have here our ambassador of the African Peer Review Mechanism. You are most welcome, my sister. The members of the Diplomatic Corps who are here, we also want to recognize you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Sanbonani, good morning. Bonjour. You'll forgive me if I'm not able to continue. I'll still have to learn. Honorable members, it is indeed my privilege and honor to welcome you to South Africa, here, which is the home of the Pan-African Parliament. It is also an honor and privilege that on behalf of the National Assembly and the Parliament of South Africa, we welcome you in our shores. It is indeed an important meeting marking the official opening of the Conference of Speakers of the National and Regional Parliaments. Your Excellency, Honorable President, and your collective leadership of Pan-African Parliament, please allow me to convey my warmest congratulations on behalf of the Parliament of South Africa on your recent election when you have taken new office. We can clap. It is allowed. Indeed, it takes courage to step into public service to serve the people, and I have no doubt that you will serve the people of our continent as this bureau. You can actually take leave also from your previous bureau and understand how sometimes it can be very difficult to lead the Pan-African Parliament. You will always try your best to make sure that you balance the interests and needs of all members and also their regional parliaments where they come from. The Pan-African Parliament occupies a special place in the history of our continent, not only as the legislative organ of the African Union, but as the voice of the voiceless and the epicenter of accountability for African parliaments and national legislatures. Your Excellency, Mr. President, this important conference takes place a day after the successful conclusion of the first ordinary session of the 7th Pan-African Parliament. I'm aware that this important organ of the African Union used this first ordinary session to discuss and adopt many recommendations and resolutions on various issues affecting our continent. Indeed, as indicated by His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, the President of the Republic of South Africa, during his opening address on Monday, that the Pan-African Parliament is an enduring symbol of unity in diversity, a unity anchored in the conviction that Africa's future must be shaped not only by its government, but its people. I also know that during your session, the first ordinary session, you have been able to discuss some of the critical issues that also impact on my own country. I know that in the latest months, the issue of migration has been uppermost and has touched us in different ways. But also it has called us to reflect on how we have to manage this challenging issue in order to also manage the cohesion of our continent. And I want to say, difficult the debate as it may have been yesterday, where we exchange views, but what is important is that we're candid and open with one another about the challenges that we face. And I'd like to pause it and say, Mr. President, and to my speakers who are here, that as we also deal with these critical issues, it's important to appreciate that the challenge that is facing us now, maybe in South Africa, is the challenge that some of our member states in the continent have faced before. Maybe the question is, how do we learn from each other? How best some of those countries who faced the similar challenges on migration were able to manage those issues. And also, not only for the sake of reflection and engagement, but for learning from one another, but also ensuring that in the future, were able to manage such issues differently. Because as a union, we committed to make sure that the objectives of Agenda 2063 of an Africa we want indeed must be built on how we act to intervene on challenges that our continent face, but also how we ensure that we utilize the resources that our continent has, not just in terms of natural resources, but also our human capability. This conference is held under the important theme, I quote, the role of parliamentary diplomacy in strengthening relations with national and regional parliaments and contributing to the achievement of the objectives of Agenda 2063, close quote. This is very important as it calls upon all parliaments to play an active role in finding solutions to global challenges through diplomatic engagement and multilateralism. Parliamentary diplomacy is an essential tool for building trust, sharing laws, and keeping peace between countries when normal governments take slow or sometimes fail. It serves as an important democratic platform for members of parliament to talk directly to solve big challenges affecting member states, our continent, but also on global issues. Your Excellencies, parliamentary diplomacy gives nations a safe place to talk and share ideas when standard executive channels fail. It is a stabilizing force that enhances solidarity, dialogue, and multilateralism, even as the global system becomes more polarized. It enables lawmakers to use direct visits and friendship groups to lower regional tensions and build long-term respect. Through parliamentary diplomacy, members of parliament can share good legislative ideas to handle complex issues affecting their countries. I hope as we reflect on these issues, we also need to look at how we embed the role of women of our continent, particularly women parliamentarians, in building our continent. Similarly, we are a young continent. We've got young people who have the energy, the capability, and the agility to contribute to building our countries. And I do think that within the African continent, working with our young parliamentary caucus, we need to look at how we can work with them in strengthening parliamentary diplomacy, as well as strengthening relations within national and regional parliaments and contributing to achievement of our objectives of Agenda 2063. Mr. President, during the opening session on Monday, there were issues that President Ramaphosa reflected on which arose out of your discussions, particularly lobbying for the ultimate legislative power of this Pan-African Parliament. And I know that he made the commitment that he will do his best to engage his peers and his brothers within the African Union. But I would want to make some suggestion on that issue, Honorable President, that here amongst this House, you've got parliaments who form part of regional community such as ECOWAS in West Africa, SADC in the South, Central Africa, and East as well as the North. And all of these regional parliaments have evolved, some of them, from being forum to a state where they became fully fledged parliamentary structures that are recognized in the region, but also in other fora of the African Union. Maybe one of the things that we might need to do is to create a representative structure that will form membership from these regions so that we can look at how strategically we actually advance this objective of coming up with a fully fledged African Parliament. You have also correctly said Mr. President, that one of the roles of the Pan-African Parliament is to coordinate the work of our national parliaments as well as our regional parliament. Again here, Honorable President and Honorable Speakers, particularly some of you who are part of the Interparliamentary Union, you know the important role of that assembly. But one of the things that, in my view, as an African region, we'll need to find a way in which we have alignment. You have got the Pan-African Parliament, which is now having an observer status within the IPU, but you also have, at the same time, the African Geopolitical Group, which is part of the IPU as well. The question is, how do these two bodies work together so that the objectives of what we want to do, even in terms of parliamentary diplomacy in these multilateral agenda, there is alignment. I do trust that under your leadership, President, and your bureau, you'll be able to find a way in which there can be a dialogue between the African Parliamentary Geopolitical Group as well as the African Parliamentary Union to find a way in which, as PAP, there can be coordination which will ensure that it strengthens the work that we do. I do want to say, as the Parliament of South Africa would like to welcome you once again and trust that the engagements that we'll have today and tomorrow will help to advance the objectives that we had agreed to as part of Africa Agenda 2063. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly of the Republic of South Africa, for those welcome remarks in which you have set out the very important role of the Pan-African Parliament and its leadership within a complex continental and global environment, the need to ventilate continental issues of public moment, to do so with candor and balance, careful representation and fair representation of voices, with diplomacy and the maintenance of cohesion within the continent, and further asserting the need for collaboration, greater coordination amongst groups of parliaments at national and regional level in order to strengthen Africa's voice in the global arena. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. We now have the privilege of receiving a solidarity message from the Honorable Sahiba Gafarova, the Speaker of the Milli Majlis of the Republic of Azerbaijan, to deliver her remarks. I invite you, Excellency. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Excellencies, honorable speakers of parliament, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor and pleasure to join you today at this important conference of speakers of national and regional parliaments. Allow me to express my sincere appreciation to His Excellency Dr. Fateh Budbik, President of the Pan-African Parliament, and the Honorable Ms. Tozakile Didiza, Speaker of the National Assembly of South Africa, for invitation, warm hospitality, and for bringing together the leaders of national and regional parliaments from across Africa. I am delighted to join such a distinguished gathering of parliamentary colleagues whose work means an essential contribution to peace, democracy, regional cooperation, and sustainable development throughout the continent. Ladies and gentlemen, I address you first and foremost as a Speaker of the Milli Majlis of the Republic of Azerbaijan. I also have the honor of serving as the chair of the Non-Aligned Movement Parliamentary Network, which today brings together parliaments from more than 70 countries, many of them from Africa. These responsibilities have strengthened my conviction that parliamentary solidarity is not an abstract principle, it is a practical necessity. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a period of profound international change. Conflicts continue to affect millions of people. Economic inequality remains deep. Climate change places an increasing burden on developing countries, while trust in international institutions is under growing pressure. In such circumstances, parliaments cannot remain on the margins of global decision-making. They give a voice to citizens, bring national realities into international debate, and transform political commitments into laws, budgets, and practical action. This is precisely why the work of the Pan-African Parliament is so important. It gives parliamentary expression to Africa's vision of unity, development, and greater influence in world affairs. It also advances the aspirations embodied in Agenda 2063, a peaceful, prosperous, and integrated Africa, driven by its own people and playing its rightful role in the international community. Azerbaijan deeply respects this vision. Our country attaches great importance to its relation with African states and believes in cooperation based on equally mutual respect and shared benefit. We also believe that Africa should be represented not only through its numbers, but through its ideas, its priorities, and its leadership. Africa is no longer simply a subject of global discussion. It is increasingly helping to shape that discussion, and this growing role should be fully reflected in international institutions, including the world's parliamentary institutions. Dear colleagues, in this regard, the Interparliamentary Union has a unique responsibility. As the oldest and most inclusive global organization of national parliaments, it provides a platform where different political systems, regions, and traditions can meet on equal terms. Yet, representation must mean more than participation in meetings. A region may be fully represented statistically, while still remaining insufficiently represented strategically. True inclusiveness means giving every region a meaningful opportunity, not only to participate, but also to shape priorities, contribute ideas, and exercise leadership. For that reason, I believe the partnership between the IPU and the regional parliamentary organizations, such as the Pan-African Parliament, should become even stronger. These institutions should not work in parallel. They should reinforce one another. The IPU benefits from the regional experience and political understanding of organizations such as the Pan-African Parliament, while the PAP can use the global platform of the IPU to advance Africa's priorities and strengthen its voice in international parliamentary diplomacy. This is a kind of parliamentary multilateralism we need today, more representative, more connected, and more responsive to the realities of every region. Distinguished colleagues, these reflections occur particular significance this year. In October, during the 153rd Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union in Tanzania, the Governing Council will elect the next president of our organization. This will be an important decision not only for the coming 3 years, but also for the future direction of the IPU. It is therefore both a great honor and a profound responsibility for me to have been nominated by the Eurasia Geopolitical Group as its candidate for the presidency of the Interparliamentary Union for the 2026-2029 term. The Eurasian Geopolitical Group has made a consistent contribution to the work of the IPU, but since the establishment of the current system of geopolitical groups within the IPU, no candidate nominated by this group has ever been elected president of our organization. In June this year, the Secretariat of the IPU sent a note on the election of the president of the IPU, and this situation is clearly expressed there. I do not mention this as a matter of entitlement. I mention it because I believe that inclusiveness should be reflected not only in our declarations, but also in the way our organization is led. The election of a president nominated by a geopolitical group that has never before held this office would send a powerful institutional message that leadership within the IPU is genuinely open to every region and every geopolitical group. Ladies and gentlemen, at the same time, I wish to be absolutely clear. My nomination has a geographical origin. My responsibility, if elected, would have no geographical limits. Every candidature begins within one geopolitical group. A presidency, however, belongs equally to all geopolitical groups. The president of the Interparliamentary Union does not represent one region or one geopolitical group. The president represents the institution and serves the entire parliamentary community with impartiality, independence, and respect. If entrusted with this responsibility, I would work to strengthen parliamentary multilateralism, promote greater inclusiveness, support economic solidarity and the right to development, advance fair and accessible climate finance, and deepen cooperation between the IPU and regional parliamentary organizations, including the Pan-African Parliament, as an essential partner in shaping the future of global parliamentary cooperation. Honorable speakers, the purpose of a solidarity message is not simply to express support. It is to affirm that our challenges are shared, our responsibilities are connected, and our progress depends on cooperation. That is the spirit in which I address you today. Dear friends, I stand in solidarity with the Pan-African Parliament, with the parliaments represented in this hall, and with Africa's aspiration for a stronger voice and a greater role in international affairs. And I respectfully place before you my vision of an interparliamentary union in which every parliament feels represented, every region has an equal opportunity to contribute, and leadership is understood not as a privilege, but as service to the entire parliamentary community. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Honorable Sahiba Gafarova, Speaker of the Milli Majlis of the Republic of Azerbaijan, for your solidarity message to the Pan-African Parliament, but also to this conference of speakers of national and regional parliaments of the African continent. We thank you for your remarks regarding the filial relationship between Azerbaijan and African countries, your held belief in an inclusive parliamentary arrangement, the growing influence of the African continent in global affairs, and the numerical strength that Africa has to exert, but also the call for the crystallization or the catalyzation of this numerical advantage in international parliamentary institutions in order to advance Africa's priorities at this level, and inviting the conference to take into consideration its consideration for the leadership of future bodies of international standing. Thank you very much for these remarks. Excellency President, at this stage of the proceedings, we will proceed to the installation of the Bureau of this convention. And I do now invite His Excellency Dr. Fateh Butbig, President of the Pan-African Parliament, to lead and invite honorable speakers and presiding officers of the African continent to elect the bureau that will further lead the deliberations of this conference. Thank you.
شكرا.
Thank you. Our clerk of the Pan-African Parliament, Your Excellencies, honorable ladies and gentlemen, speakers of the national parliaments, presidents of senates in the African continent, and all excellencies, honorable members of the Bureau of the Pan-African Parliament, honorable members and excellencies, representative ambassadors, representative of the organs. Allow me first, on your behalf, I would like to thank Madam Diziza, the chairperson, the Speaker of the Parliament of South Africa, as well as a strong message that is delivered by Madam Sebriha, the Speaker of the Majlis of Azerbaijan. Everything here is coming within that context of building a strong future and fruitful cooperation between our institutions. And as we are starting this conference, we have a colleague of ours who passed on the 30th of July, that is late Donali Mukapalisa, the former president of the National Assembly of Rwanda. She passed on the 30th of July. It is now our duty to stand a minute of silence for her passing on. Please let us stand for 1 minute of silence, mourning the passing on of one of the colleagues.
شكرا. رحمها الله وهي
Her soul rests in eternal peace. As I said, she was the former Speaker of the National Assembly of Rwanda and was very active with us here in the African group, in the Pan-African Parliament. Once again, let me say, as we are at the beginning of this conference, that we normally form a bureau to steer the work of the conference that is in accordance with the standing procedures. Your Excellencies, honorable speakers of the national and regional parliaments, allow me to call upon you all to handle this matter for the meeting that's convened annually at the seat of the Pan-African Parliament. On my behalf, as a chair, as president of the Pan-African Parliament, elected in the recent elections, I'm looking forward for a parliament that is marked or characterized by cooperation, openness between the Pan-African Parliament and national parliaments, and looking forward for a relation that is more effective, that is helping us to achieve what we want to realize in the future. So we want to have that strong relation with the national parliaments, and we are always here, open for you, and ready to work with the same transparency and desire to realize the objectives of the African Union and to strengthen the the African the parliamentary diplomacy. We are ready, we are open to cooperate and to work with any African parliament or international group that is we are part to. We will be ambassadors to each one another. We have to look forward for that reform and to improve the work of our parliament and your parliaments, and to work together to try to resolve all the challenges and to be the real bridges built on confidence between the people, between the leaders of Africa, and to work with the same spirit of love and appreciation of the African Union, starting with the African Union Commission and within the rules that organizing our work with these bodies. Without further ado, and as I said, this conference of speakers is the tool that brings us together on a regular basis. It will be very important that we have to establish or to form a bureau or a body that can steer out its work. I hereby propose for you that since we have 5 regions in the African continent, that every region should have a representative. I propose that we have to nominate 5 members from the 5 regions of Africa to steer the work of this conference. And allow me also to take this opportunity to express my gratitude and thanks to Madam Didiza, Speaker of the National Assembly of South Africa, to express my appreciation for the participation of His Excellency Ramaphosa in the opening of our sitting here. After he came here and delivered a very strong message within that context of the strategy of our Pan-African Parliament. His presence here was a great honor for us all. And also, I would like to thank through him I also want to thank the Speaker of the Speaker of the National Parliament of National Assembly of South Africa, and other speakers of the national parliaments who are present here. This is a very strong message to all African countries. We want this forum to continue being an active tool in the African strategy for parliamentary diplomacy, based on love, based on integration, and aspiration to face all the challenges in the different cases. Once again, let me thank you for this kind response. And let me also call upon you to nominate 5 persons from the 5 regions to come and steer this conference. And if you want me to take like 5 minutes to discuss between you, otherwise you can just raise your hand to give us 5 members from the 5 regions to take the responsibility of steering the work of this conference, the conference that will handle a lot of matters in different issues with regard to issues relates to our continent. And therefore, Let me call upon you once again, ladies and gentlemen, honorable speakers of the national parliaments, to give us the representatives of this bureau or the 5 persons to steer the work of this conference.
Now it is a break. Okay, should I sit here? Okay, I will sit. I will sit here. Ужасный голос. Ужасный. Пока будем сидеть, да. Иншаллах. On the budget. Yes. Yes, but what he will do? Yes, what he will
September. Yes.